According to General Hospital spoilers for Friday, June 27th, Portia Robinson will make a suggestion to Curtis Ashford, but he will decline since now is not the time. Portia appears to want to discuss their marriage and her difficulties with Jordan Ashford, but Curtis may argue that they have more serious matters to deal with. Jordan will inform Anna on her altercation with Portia, who tossed a drink in her face at the Metro Court pool. Jordan's complex sentiments and Portia's jealous outbursts will make her question whether she can be around Curtis anymore. Brooklyn Quartermain will seem frightened as she speaks with Natalia Ramirez about bad news and an impending tragedy. Do you really believe we can avoid a scandal like this? Brooklyn asks Natalia in Friday's GH teaser video. This may be related to Sonny and the dodgy deception financial information. Therefore, Brooklyn may be concerned that it may blow up and cause significant damage to the company. ADA Justin Turner will confront Sonny and make some frightening comments. Sonny will ask if he needs to contact his lawyer, but he will remain calm and stand up to Turner in the process. Carly Spencer will tell Jason about the threat Jen Sidwell poses, especially with everyone gathered for Daisy's christening ceremony. However, Jason promises that if anyone considers making a move, they will be stopped. Carly will be reassured that Jason will do all it takes to safeguard all of their loved ones. Jason and Carly will reminisce at some time, and they may recall recollections of Michael Corinthos as a baby. On Friday's show, Michael will be in a bad mood because of Willow Tate, but Jocelyn Jacks will encourage him to focus on Daisy's happy event. It appears like Joss will caution Michael not to let Willow darken a very special day. Thus Michael may decide she is correct. Sasha Gilmore Corbin will confide to Cody Bell that something strange is happening at the Quartermain mansion. Since the milk was in the cabinet, Sasha chalked it up to mommy brain. Sasha found some even weirder findings in Daisy's bedroom, where she had been turned about in her crib and was wearing a different color onesie. It appears that someone is attempting to gaslight Sasha, so it will be interesting to watch how the rest of this story unfolds. Back with Anna, she'll face a tough grilling session. Will ADA Turner be full of questions on Friday's episode? Brooklyn and Harrison Chase are also about to make a discovery, so we'll see what they find and the drama that will undoubtedly ensue. According to General Hospital spoilers, Sonny will confront a surprising turn of events as the week comes to a close, which might lead to an arrest or another attempt on his life. Daisy's baptism day began cold and clear in Port Charles, in stark contrast to the cozy family celebration planned for the Quartermain estate. What was supposed to be a tranquil and meaningful day suddenly became fraught with tension, secrecy, and subtle emotional instability. Jason Morgan, standing as a sentinel in the background, was there for protection rather than tradition or sentiment. Something about this ceremony, the faint undercurrents around Daisy's baptism, awakened every instinct in him. Jason didn't take chances when it came to defending the innocent, especially after what the previous few months had revealed. Jason's return to Port Charles had already caused quite a commotion, but Daisy's position was unique. The baby, just a few months old and unfamiliar to the majority of the family, had become the center of unanticipated drama and intrigue. Daisy was officially being raised by one of the Quartermain cousins who had returned to town under difficult circumstances, but the rumors about her true parentage, the rushed christening, and the strangely quiet atmosphere made Jason dubious. He didn't make assumptions, but when it came to a child's protection, he preferred to remain close. Too many things did not add up. He stood near the back of the garden ceremony, arms crossed, his gaze analyzing every face, movement, and unusual car parked near the gate. Jason wasn't dressed fancy, just his usual black jacket, boots, and dark jeans, but even in the bright sunlight of the Quartermain estate, he appeared like a shadow waiting to move. He was not present for the photographs or the awkward family encounters. He was there because Carly had asked him to be, and he listened when she called, her voice full of concern. Meanwhile, Sasha arrived barely a few minutes before the ceremony started. She had not intended to come at all. It wasn't her scene. Too many people, ghosts floating through the well-kept hedges, and nicely placed chairs. But Brooklyn had touched out softly, suggesting that Sasha might want to be there for Daisy. Sasha wasn't sure why she had said yes, but something about the name Daisy had pulled at her heartstrings in an unusual manner. It didn't help that she was getting strange nightmares again. Sasha had been experiencing bizarre emotions ever since the incident with Liam had come full circle, and her son had been returned to her. She couldn't explain why, but the name Daisy kept repeating itself in her sleep like a whisper. Not in a haunting way but rather like an echo. She had not informed anyone about it. Until today. Cody Bell was already present when Sasha arrived. He looked remarkably polished for once, wearing a blazer that didn't quite fit him but was a genuine effort. When he noticed her, he smiled and walked up with that unique blend of cowboy charm and wild warmth that made him both easy to like and unpredictable. Sasha had grown to appreciate Cody over the last few weeks. After all, he was one of the only individuals who hadn't treated her as if she were fragile glass since Liam's return. He spoke to her as if she were still Sasha, not a survivor, a case, or a tragic tale. "Didn't expect you to show," Cody remarked, pouring her a paper cup of steaming cider. "Quartermain parties not really your style." "They're not," Sasha confessed, taking the drink. "But something told me I needed to be here. Honestly, I have no idea what that something is." Cody stared at her with more intensity than she expected. "That has been occurring a lot to you lately, huh?" Sasha looked away, then laughed quietly. "You have no idea." The ceremony itself was brief. An officiant hired for the occasion spoke of love, guardianship, and fresh beginnings, while the infant, wrapped in a gorgeous lace gown, remained fairly silent in her godmother's arms. There was applause, courteous smiles, and a sense of peaceful tradition. Jason remained tense. He didn't move during the ceremony, but kept his hand at his belt, where he frequently holstered his sidearm. Something felt odd. A car stopped on the estate grounds corner hadn't moved in over an hour, and the man in the driver's seat had made 2 phone calls during the ceremony. Jason recognized the signals. Whoever the man was, he was not present for the christening cake. Jason made his way carefully around the perimeter as the guests began to gather inside for the reception. He didn't want to cause a panic until it was absolutely necessary. He was most effective when he was quiet and inconspicuous. His earpiece buzzed once. He was connected to a private channel courtesy to Spinelli, who had completed background checks on all known guests this morning. The man in the automobile had not appeared on any of their lists. This made Jason's stomach twist. He wasn't going to put another child at jeopardy. Not on his watch. Back inside, Sasha went into the sunroom to escape the mob. Cody trailed her, sensing her uneasiness. The garden ceremony had triggered something in her. She appeared plainly upset but tried to hide it. "Are you all right?" he asked. She did not respond right away. Instead, she gazed down at the floor and then up at the artwork over the fireplace. "There's something I haven't told anyone," she finally admitted, her voice low. "I think I've been dreaming about Daisy." Cody blinked. "Have you met her before?" "No," Sasha responded swiftly. "Not consciously. I had no idea she existed until Brooklyn invited me. But I've started getting odd nightmares. I keep hearing the name Daisy. There's always this feeling that something isn't what it seems." Cody drew closer, apprehensive. "Sasha, is this like when, before Liam was discovered?" Sasha shakes her head. "I suspected it might be. I was afraid it was that. But this feels different. I am not spiraling. I am not hallucinating. I am linked. Somehow." Cody did not laugh or scoff. He did not call her crazy. He just waited, allowing her to process the emotions whirling around her words. "There's something about her eyes," Sasha said. "I'm not sure how to express it. I glanced at her during the ceremony and felt as if she was looking right through me, as if she recognized me." Cody exhaled and ran a hand over his mouth. "Do you think you could be related to her?" "I've considered it," Sasha said. "But biologically, I doubt it. No links, no secret siblings. I checked. But emotionally, spiritually, it feels like she's pulling me. Perhaps it's simply because of what you went through with Liam. Maybe this is your brain figuring out how to handle everything." "Maybe," Sasha replied. "But I don't think so." Before Cody could react, Jason appeared through the doorway. He said nothing at first, simply gazed at both of them before closing the door behind him. "We need to keep everyone inside," Jason replied. "Now." Sasha's heart jumped. What is going on? There is someone parked outside the estate. They do not belong. They've made 2 untraceable calls and haven't moved in more over an hour. I am not taking any chances. This christening could have been a setup. Cody's expression became more intense as he glanced at Sasha. Do you believe someone is here for Daisy? I don't know, Jason replied. But the timing, the secrecy around this kid, and the lack of official family confirmation, none of it feels right to me. We keep the baby safe until we learn more. This was all Sasha needed to hear. The following hour was tense. Jason arranged with Spinelli and Dante, who arrived discreetly to assist without disturbing the other guests. The man in the automobile eventually attempted to flee, but Dante and Chase stopped him at the front gate. He claimed to be a private investigator working for someone out of town, although the client's identity was unclear, and he had no legal cause to be parked outside the property. They checked the car and discovered images inside. Of Daisy. Of the christening invitation. Of Sasha. Sasha's blood went icy. Why would he keep images of me? She questioned Jason quietly after the man had been apprehended. Jason did not respond soon away. Later that evening, after the visitors had left and the estate had quieted down, he approached Sasha quietly. Spinelli ran some deeper checks, Jason explained. The man didn't work alone. He is linked to a New Jersey-based organization involved in baby trafficking and unlawful adoptions. Sasha's breath caught. It's possible Daisy is connected to that ring somehow, Jason told me. Or was before someone stepped in. Who? Jason examined her closely. Maybe you did. What? Maybe someone took Daisy, he replied slowly, and brought her here to be safe, and perhaps they involved you for a reason. Sasha felt dizzy. Do you think I'm related to all of this? I think you were meant to be at that christening, he remarked. Whether you realize why yet or not. And as the investigation progressed and more truths were revealed, Sasha came to believe it. Her dreams continued. Her feelings for Daisy grew stronger. And in the depths of her spirit, she knew one thing for sure. It was merely the beginning. According to the General Hospital recap for Thursday, June 26th, Dante Falconeri offered Giovanni Gio Palmieri concert tickets and encouraged him to join a family outing, but Giovanni maintained music wasn't his thing at the time and turned him down. At the Quartermaine mansion, Rocco Falconeri and Danny Morgan expressed interest in Brooklyn Quartermaine's particular project, but she claimed it was private. After Jason Morgan appeared, he learned about Danny and Rocco's first day as pool attendants. When Dante appeared, he personally apologized to Jason for being so severe about his parenting approach previously, and Jason accepted the apologies. Later, while clearing some items from the table where Brooklyn had been working, Danny discovered Rocco's name on a file and pointed it out to him. After putting Daisy in her crib, Sasha approached Felicia Scorpio in the kitchen and requested her to be Daisy's godmother. Felicia enthusiastically agreed before Sasha offered to make them some tea. Sasha went to the cabinet for mugs and found the milk carton instead of the fridge. Sasha guessed that mom brain existed and laughed it off. Someone suspicious returned to Daisy's room and approached her crib. When Sasha checked on Daisy later, she was surprised to see that she had turned in the opposite direction. Daisy was also wearing a different color onesie, which frightened Sasha out and made him wonder how this could have happened. Back at the Metro Court pool, Lulu Spencer recommended Lucas Jones to investigate how close Marco Rios and Jen Sidwell were, but he dismissed her concerns. Gio then intervened when an intoxicated man began beating on Lulu. When the man stumbled into the pool, Gio fished him out off-screen and laughed with Lulu. Brooklyn stared at Gio as he high-fived Lulu and laughed with her in a close moment. Brooklyn's eyes welled up with tears, giving her the appearance of being both heartbroken and enraged by Lulu's bond with Giovanni. Marco was only interested in discussing Natalia Ramirez's case in the law office. Natalia implied that she would always remain Marco's mother, even if they never interacted again. Marco sensed something was wrong and persuaded Natalia to disclose she was leaving the United States to begin a new life overseas. Marco became enraged when he realized Sonny Corinthos was behind all of this. Although Natalia trusted Sonny, Marco was concerned for her safety as well as the difficulty this would cause for him, given his agreement with ADA Justine Turner. As Lucas approached, Marco cautioned Natalia that if she walked out that door, she would be nothing to him. Natalia thought she was already nothing to her son, so she walked out the door. When Marco was alone with Lucas, he explained the Sonny problem and expressed a desire to contact the police. Lucas insisted Marco couldn't have his own mother jailed and promised to keep silent about everything. Sidwell looked at images of Sonny's family members at Windmere because they were his weakness. Sonny informed Carly Spencer about his refusal to sell the Piers to Sidwell. Carly was still concerned that Sidwell may pose a threat to their family, but Sonny made some protective assurances and assured her that Natalia would not be an issue. After speaking with Ezra Boyle about the unsuccessful Pier negotiations, Sidwell advised that he urged Sonny to sell, while also reminding the public that he is a bully. Ezra was reluctant to participate, but Sidwell's threatening demeanor persuaded him. Natalia later stopped by to provide an update on her dispute with Marco. Sidwell informed Natalia that he would not help her solve things, but she wanted him to show he loved Marco by keeping their kid out of his company. According to General Hospital teasers, Marco will be dealing with more family trouble soon, so stay tuned. Sasha had been rebuilding her life, painfully, since Liam returned to her arms. Port Charles had seen her devastated and had spoken of her mental breakdown, her time under guardianship, and the sensational disintegration of her life when Brando died. But Sasha had clawed her way back, not with great gestures or immaculate achievements, but with quiet determination. Her days were now filled with bottles and diapers, long walks around Rice Park with Liam cuddled tight to her bosom, and fleeting moments of quiet that reminded her she was alive. However, peace did not stay long in Port Charles. It began subtly, things only Sasha would notice. The baby monitor in the living room crackled one night, picking up a static hiss that did not sound like interference. She first blamed the low-cost model she had purchased in a panic, but the following night it happened again. Then came the messages. Small slips of paper slipped beneath her front door. They weren't menacing, just weird. One read, "You can't hide what's meant to be seen." Another simply said, "Oopsie daisy." That sentence impacted her like a punch in the chest. It had tormented her since the baby switch mystery. She had never told anyone that her name had been written on the false medical records. First she assumed she was just weary. New motherhood was tiring, and trauma had caused her brain to distrust itself. However, the notes did not cease. Someone was observing her. She informed Maxie, who immediately contacted Spinelli. They improved Sasha's security system, installed cameras both inside and outside, and asked her to stay with someone, perhaps Carly or Lois. Sasha declined. She was not planning to run. She would not let fear control her again. However, the indications worsened. The monitor in Liam's room was discovered unplugged one morning. Sasha was certain she didn't touch it. Then in the middle of the night, a lullaby began playing on her phone, a tune she hadn't downloaded and one Brando had previously hummed to their son. Her heart raced as she cradled her infant, uttering vows of safety even as her skin crawled. The police took a report, but they couldn't do anything because there were no clear threats or forced entry. Jordan told her that they were conducting an investigation, but Sasha had a feeling they weren't done. Then came the photographs. Photos of Sasha going in the park with Liam, bending to zip up his onesie, kissing his forehead, were printed in black and white and dropped in her mailbox without postage. All shots were taken from a distance. Someone had followed them. The final shot of her sleeping on the couch with Liam in her arms was what broke her down. Taken from within her home. Sasha could not breathe. She packed a bag and headed directly to Maxie's. She did not protest this time. She could not safeguard her baby unless she felt safe herself. Across town, Lulu Spencer was experiencing a different type of nightmare. She had only lately returned to public life, following a lengthy recuperation from her coma. Her reawakening had been modest, even covert, with Dante and Laura carefully guarding her from the public light. But now Lulu was slowly regaining some of her freedom. She had begun working at the Port Charles Library, and even agreed to accompany Brooklyn and Maxie on the Rare Girls' Night Out. She wasn't quite herself yet, but she was getting there. Things went wrong during one of those evenings, during the Savoy's open mic night. Brooklyn had fled at the last minute, leaving Maxie babysitting. Lulu chose to stay anyhow, thinking that some alone time would be beneficial to her. She sipped white wine and listened to a woman sing a smoky rendition of Landslide. Everything was perfect until he sat next to her. He introduced himself as Kevin, said he had seen her around town. Something about him struck me as strange right away, the way his gaze examined her like an object rather than a person. Lulu provided polite but brief responses, attempting to avoid more interaction. But Kevin didn't get the hint. He started ordering drinks she hadn't requested, commented on her delicate appearance. Then he came in too close and muttered something that chilled her blood. "You don't remember me, do you?" That silenced her, because she did not. However, something in his voice made her stomach flip. Lulu rose to depart, gripping her handbag tightly. Kevin gripped her arm, not firmly enough to raise a commotion, but enough to exert control. She froze. That was when Gio arrived. Giovanni Cerullo had been at the Savoy rehearsing for a charity event when he noticed the encounter from the stage. He only knew Lulu in passing, as Dante's ex and Laura's daughter, but he didn't need to know her well to recognize trouble when he saw it. He moved quickly, stepping between them. "Hey," Gio remarked casually, as if he were welcoming an old friend. "I've been looking for you." Lulu blinked, perplexed, until Gio continued with quiet intensity. "Play along." She nodded faintly. Kevin scowled. "We were talking." "Yeah?" Gio commented. "She appears to be ready to leave. Do you have a problem with that?" Kevin glared him down, chest swelled as a challenge. But Gio did not back down. Years of performing in crowded clubs taught him how to deal with aggressive men with fragile egos. Gio held his ground until Kevin pulled away, saying something about crazy chicks, and vanishing into the crowd. When the creep left, Lulu's knees almost gave out. Gio took her arm gently. "Are you okay?" "No," she replied. "But thank you." He walked her to her car, refused to allow her to drive herself, and insisted on driving her home. She didn't object. When they arrived at her house, Lulu was trembling. "I've never seen him before," she explained. "But he acted as if he knew me. Something happened before the coma." Joe's jaws constricted. "I will ask around. Did he give his name?" "Kevin. But who knows if it is real?" Gio promised to follow up. And he did, going through the Savoy security footage, giving the name to Spinelli, and cross-referencing known offenders who fit the criteria. Initially, nothing came back. But a few days later, Gio received a hit: Kevin Rankin. Arrested twice in Syracuse for stalking and illegal surveillance. Last known job? An orderly at a rehabilitation facility near where Lulu was treated. Gio headed directly to Dante. The two guys were never particularly close, but they had a mutual respect. When Dante heard what had transpired, he became pale. Lulu had not told him yet. He left quickly to meet her, demanding explanations out of dread rather than anger. Lulu admitted everything. The man, the name, and how it made her feel as if her memory was concealing something unpleasant. Dante pledged to protect her, but Lulu had already decided not to hide. "You can't bubble wrap me, Dante," she explained. "Not anymore." While Lulu confronted the ghosts of her coma, Sasha's stalker became more aggressive. Now that she was staying at Maxie's, he had started sending SMS from blocked numbers, which were invariably cryptic and deceitful. Messages like "Liam deserves the truth," and "You know what you saw." He wasn't threatening her. He was gaslighting her, distorting her reality, and making her question what had happened to Daisy, the baby, and herself. Maxie was afraid for her. So was Brooke Lynn, who arrived one night with her arms crossed and a frying pan in her purse. "Don't ask," she replied. "But I'm not letting anyone mess with you again." Spinelli eventually traced the IP address of the text to a downtown skyscraper. Sasha, desperate for answers, insisted on traveling alone. Maxie refused, but Gio volunteered to go in her place. The building was decrepit and half abandoned, but Gio had a knack for charming his way into places he didn't belong. He pretended to be a delivery person, slipped inside, and discovered the room where the signal originated. Inside was a laptop running an auto-messaging application. No one was present, just images posted to the wall of Sasha, Liam, and, unexpectedly, Daisy Henderson. That was the missing component. Daisy was not the stalker. Someone was obsessed with her. Spinelli dug deeper and discovered the man's name. Mitch Keenan, a former hospital technician who had previously worked with Daisy during her brief stay in Port Charles. He had a history of romanticizing vulnerable women and was once accused, but never punished, for harassing a bereaved mother whose baby died after birth. Mitch had fallen for Daisy following the baby switch controversy. He thought they'd save Sasha's baby together. When Daisy was incarcerated, he got preoccupied with the concept that Sasha stole what was theirs. He was behind the surveillance, the messages, the gaslighting. Later following week, police detained Mitch outside of a coffee shop near Rice Park. He did not resist. When questioned, he just replied, "She should have been grateful." The trauma was over, but the emotional aftermath had just begun. Sasha spent the next few weeks in therapy, working with the twisted sense of violation she'd experienced. She stayed at Maxie's for a while, gradually regaining her confidence. She was rattled but not broken. She never would be again. And Gio? He never asked for credit or emphasized his involvement in assisting Sasha or defending Lulu. However, his modest loyalty was not unnoticed. Brooke Lynn hugged him one evening, unusual for her, and said, "You're one of the good ones." He shrugged it off, but it meant everything. Lulu, meantime, continued to confront the dark corners of her past. With Dante's assistance in therapy, she began to untangle aspects of her recovery that had before been incomprehensible. She wasn't ready to admit what she feared had happened in that recovery center, but she wasn't frightened to address it. And Sasha? She clutched Liam close every night, the past fading away like a horrible dream. But she had survived. Again. According to General Hospital spoilers, Jason Morgan may be in for a life-changing shock, now that he is on a collision course with reality. Anna Devane asked Jason to perform some research for her, so he'll eventually continue with his Professor Henry Hank Dalton study. That could lead to some major surprises for Jason, so let's chat about what disclosures may be in store for him. For starters, Jason might discover that Jocelyn Jack's research assistant position isn't quite what it appears to be. Jocelyn did pursue Professor Dalton's research assistant position, but only because it was part of her WSB mission. Jason may eventually discover the true facts and understand Jack Brennan recruited Joss for this perilous professional path. However, Jason may be in for an even larger surprise. Britt Westbourne's anticipated comeback to the show. Kelly Thibault will be back on screen soon, as her return to General Hospital is scheduled for July. Could there be captives within Professor Dalton's lab, given the attention it has received? Emma Scorpio Drake is concerned about animal testing, but human testing may be a more serious issue in this situation. There have also been indications of a cloning storyline, so the authors may be planning a mechanism to explain Britt's return from the dead. It's possible that a Britt clone is on its way to Port Charles, but it's also plausible that the original Britt has returned after some soapy explanation. It's possible that Britt's clone met a bad end. Regardless, we wouldn't be surprised if some version of Britt is stuck in Dalton's lab. Could Jason break in and free her? Jason has always excelled in rescue narratives, but it would be especially amazing to watch him save Britt. That's because Jason and Britt's romantic reunion appears unavoidable now that Thibault has returned to the program. Jason could definitely use a love interest, and saving Britt may be the first step toward rekindling their passion. According to General Hospital spoilers, Jason is in for some wild twists and turns, so keep an eye out for updates on all of the shocking news he will encounter. Jason Morgan never meant to revisit that aspect of his past. For months, he had moved through life with a peaceful detachment, immersing himself in Sonny's organization's operations, handling logistics, dealing with external dangers, and generally holding his emotions at bay. Jason had always survived by remaining calm, reasonable, and free of sentimentality. But the truth was, every now and then, someone would break through his carefully crafted armor. Britt Westbourne has already done exactly that. He assumed such feelings had been buried long ago. However, that conviction was about to be tested in the most unexpected and catastrophic way.